Good morning, Coach.
It's a Monday. It's Rocktober 25th.
Monday for October
2021. Welcome aboard, folks. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 523.
24, I think.
24? I thought I nailed it.
It just reminded me I got to get my notebook.
Yeah, go get your notebook.
I knew something was missing
Go
there.
get your notebook. I'll get a little soft open. We appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're having an awesome start to the week. It is a gloomy, but you know what? Pleasant fall morning here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We hope you're having amazing weather wherever you are in the U.S. or abroad. Hoping you're having a lot better weather than they had at Ironman California. On Sunday, we'll go into that a little bit. But if it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. You know, you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general, and that your time is valuable. So we appreciate you lending us your ear today. We cover it all. We cover swim, bike, run, detailed podcast. We cover race recaps. We do race previews. We have on a guest once every 94 episodes, it feels like. But for the most part, Mike and I, as best friends, coaches, athletes ourselves, just kind of sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through, what our athletes are going through. We work with a wide range of athletes from across the globe, from beginners to elite level amateurs. So we tend to have a good grasp on what everybody's going through. Sometimes we'll also hop into our Facebook group, which is Crushing Iron Group. If you want to be a part of that conversation, you can answer one simple question, and we'll let you right in. But that's it. We have no sponsors. We have no ads. We have one agenda, and this is to keep you happy and healthy in our endurance sports journey.
I got to let you get right into it today.
You did. I mean, you had to get the notepad, and I apologize. I sound a little bit nasally today. I've got the kindergarten cold, as they call it, the kindergarten cold. Yeah, I am. Hey, when my kid is sick, I'm still up in their grill, and he's like, blowing snot rockets in my face. I'm just kind of wiping them off like a windshield wiper, but that's it. And apparently, allergies are like insane right now for some reason. Like, I thought that was over with in the spring. I thought that was past, but
I always used to have them in the fall at Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, this is my first experience with fall allergies. So I've had to hit back the allergy meds. Apparently, the ragweed is lit right now. The ragweed is lit. The ragweed is lit. And we hope you're lit, but that's it. Yeah, so I'll be a little bit nasal today, but you know what? I'll still sound, somewhat mediocre, I hope.
Yeah, that smooth FM voice you got going there. I mean,
voice.
These allergies.
Casey Kasem.
Why was it, Anyway. I know allergies are definitely a pain in the ass.
They're a huge pain. Yeah, I'm allergic to allergies. Lot to talk about today. First off, congrats to everyone who raced this weekend. It was a really weird weekend, and you and I were busy. We were moving the hub condo over. We did a little bit of upgrade for you athletes, and those of you that are coming in town. We had a little 1-bedroom, 1.5 bath here about 100 feet from the hub, and we have had so many people visit that want to bring friends and family, so we decided to, give you guys an upgrade. So we bumped it over to a 4-bed, 4-story, 3.5 bath townhome that includes lots of stairs.
Plan your parties.
So plan your parties now. It is right. It's going to be right next door. It is right next door to what will be the most popular brewery in town. Outstory Brewery is moving right next door. So we did that all weekend. You had North Carolina 70.3 that happened Saturday morning. Last Saturday race in the Ironman Waco was Saturday morning. Then you had a Sunday noon 70.3 start in Central Time for Waco. 70.3 is a noon start. They had awards last night at 10 p.m. And I was thinking about this yesterday. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but that's like the perfect race for you. Like a noon start.
I was just going to say, hang on, I'm going to sign up for
that
that
is
right
you,
now.
100%. Like
With
we used to
10
joke
PM
back
awards?
at 10 p.m. awards. Like,
dude, I would have been the
yeah,
man.
that's telling you, dude, you'd have been the highlight reel of the day. And then you had the cluster and utter disappointment that was Ironman California. It was booked to be a pretty awesome pro race too, with Gustav Eden, Lionel Sanders, and Jan Frodeno all kind of lined up to go head to head and what would have proven to be, I think, a pretty awesome show. Even with a pretty downstream swim, a flat bike, and a flat run. It was, you're thinking like Sacramento, late season, how perfect can it get? You're like, this is like, perfect weather. And then the race morning came, and all week long they were talking for like torrential downpours and winds and a lot of speculation. And then the night before the race, I got a text. So Saturday night from one of the athletes said, all right, they're keeping the race the same for the pros, but they're going to cut the bike course in half for the age groupers. So it's going to be a 2.4 swim, a 56-mile bike, and still keep the marathon. So I sent a few texts out adjusting power and stuff. And then about an hour and a half later, it was races canceled. There's some like bomb cyclone and an atmospheric river, whatever those terms are. If you're a weatherman, you're probably getting the buzz right now. And they canceled it. And every single athlete I talked to with a head on their shoulders that was objective said, without a doubt, 100% best decision. It was incredibly unsafe. Just how flooded the roads were getting. There was porta-johns flying through the air. It was a mad scene. And a couple of them, many of them live in California, and they thought, listen, like, we haven't had rain in forever. This is like a blessing. And like, I know it sucks for the race, but like, our state needs rain, like really, 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 really bad. And then of course you have like the other end, the athletes that are like, I can't believe they're not letting us race in this. Like, come on, Ironman, do this. And I'm like, 99% of you spend your life on Zwift, okay? When it's like partly cloudy outside with a little bit of humidity and a chance of rain, you're like, got to keep it inside then, man. Got to keep it inside. And then dew point, man. It's going to cost some extra moisture on the lens of my visor and my aero helmet. I can't do this outside. Got to hop on Zwift. You ride inside all the time, 100% of the time, and then race day comes with insane weather, and you're like, oh, come on, man. We got to do this, man. We are tough enough. I'm like, really? Are we now? Are we tough enough? All in all, I think it was obviously a regrettable decision and just horrendous timing and something you can't predict. But I think they're already giving out options, which I think is pretty cool. I know that I think they moved the pro field from.
They got to be getting good at options.
Seriously, which I mean, listen, as much as
they're selling futures,
they're selling futures, baby. As much crap, right? And listen, every big corporation that in Ironman is a business, right? It's a business first and a distant second. Any kind of a business that has a market share, the lion's share of the market, like Ironman does over triathlon, you're going to have bad customer experiences. You're going to have great customer experiences. You got to give them credit, man. Like, I thought last week they bit the bullet and went back on, moving Wisconsin from June back to September. I thought that was kind of a good, like, hey, we effed up. We hear you. Let's make it right. So kudos on that for them. They made a great, albeit rough decision. Again, like when you make decisions, like you can't just think about the athletes, think about, asking volunteers to stick out in those kind of conditions, standing there. No, not going to be ideal. And just having like the amount of medical personnel and emergency, team and doctors you need to take care of that many people. And listen, like we've all seen triathletes specifically ride on a straight road. They're already swerving. Okay. We don't need 40-mile-an-hour winds and 9 inches of rain to help that out. But I think I read this morning an athlete say that they're letting people transfer into Arizona, which has been sold out, which is in 3.5 weeks. And so I think they're going to have limited entry into that and entry into a bunch of others. So listen, doing the best that they can, moving over. I understand it's disappointing, but I got to give, I'll give a lot of credit to people who just showed up race morning, ready to roll, and then kind of took it. They took one on the chin, obviously, with the huge race being something you've been looking forward to for some people for probably 2 years, and then having it moved and being adjusted. But listen, if we've learned anything the last year, year and a half, 2 years, it's that it is much better to be flexible than it is to be rigid.
Yeah, I
couldn't agree. Did I lull you to sleep?
No. It's just I agree. It's all good. But man, all I keep thinking about is it was probably dangerous, but how much fun that would have been to actually try and race in that situation, because I do love stuff like that. And without a doubt, it would have probably been too dangerous. But there's something like that. Like those are my favorite races. I always tell you, like that first Olympic I did when it was just freezing cold and like rainy the whole day in Rev 3. That's the one that just sticks out in my mind. Is like you did something that day. Same with that Louisville thing that a couple of years ago we were talking about, a few years ago, when it was pouring rain the whole day. It was cold, 50s, and windy.
Insanely windy. That's something that people don't talk about that day. It was insanely
tree limbs
windy
the whole way home on River Road. And yeah, it was super windy. They were knocking over everything in the village. When I came back in, it looked like a bomb cyclone. What do they call it?
A cyclone bomb or a bomb cyclone.
Went off. But yeah, it sucks at the time. But I do have to also say that back then, I probably would have wanted to do it. But right now, I'm kind of like getting soft.
Listen, I think everybody's getting soft these days.
Yeah.
There were a couple people joking outside of like the winds. You're like, that's the typical forecast for Ironman Wales. That's kind of what we're used to.
That's the other thing. I've always had that in the back of my mind about doing Wales.
I think the biggest thing in this rings true with a lot of races now is that I think if it had been a race cap or participant cap of like 300, they may have had it, right? Because like some of these, there are races where you sign up for like Norseman, Alaska Man, like all these races that like, I trained a guy for Alaska Man 3 years ago. He had to stop for 15 minutes during the bike to let a bear cross. Okay, like that's like you had to have a pacer on the run because it was so cold. The elevation was so severe. It's like there are races out there where you're not signing up for it. And honestly, I think that's something everyone needs to detach themselves, because maybe that's where we'll go today. Is for the last year and a half, 2 years, everyone has had forced on them because of postponed races or cancellations or untimely deferrals that, kind of like interject, what they really want to do for the next year. Like, and a lot of athletes say like, I really didn't want to do an Ironman next year, but now like if I want to do one, I got to do it next year because of what I was doing this year, got postponed or deferred, however it happened. But when you spend as an athlete a long time specifically focused on a time, right, and a placement and a PR or improvement, that is basically, listen, it's not just about your fitness. It's also about luck, right? Like let's say they had the race yesterday in Ironman California. Let's say the rainfall would have been 3 inches and not, 8 or 9. Let's say the winds would have been 15 or 20 miles an hour, not 40. You still would have been in for a very, very hard day, right? You would have gone into the race thinking, all right, the course is about as pancake flat as me. It's a PR course. I'm going for it. I'm going to hang my hat on this, getting this new time. And then Mother Nature rears his ugly head, and you're like, now what am I left with? Oh, I just finished. Like, I think we've become so accustomed to, and listen, athletes have this mentality. They expect, which is, one of the hardest parts of coaching is, regardless of the terrain, regardless of the temperature, regardless of the distance or location or the life that they're, the kind of the life cycle they're in at the moment, people expect to PR almost every single race, no matter what. They have expectations going in. And listen, half of you don't even read the athlete guide. You don't even know what the course train is going to be like. You just think because you pick a new one, it's going to be, like you picked Waco 70.3 thinking it was going to be pancake flat because it's Texas. It ain't. Okay, it is absolutely not pancake flat. Like the roads are rough. It's got some rollers in the run course there. Not flat at all. It's actually one of the tougher 70.3 run courses in North America, I think. But so you go in, you have all this training you do, looking for how can I express my fitness in a way that's going to give me a time-related result. Okay, that's going to prove that I'm training as hard. But I think moving towards things, and at least giving yourself a break from those expectations and choosing to take on something new, right? Like a 50-mile ultra or a 10-mile swim or a gravel stage race, like things that remove any expectation of time or a podium or beating Joe Blow from down the street or, going up it's something so different and so new that you can actually do all of your training and just have fun with it, because your only goal is to just finish, right? It's to just do it. It's to gain a new experience. And I think that's something that we've lost the last year or two or a lot of athletes have kind of lost sight of, is signing up for things for the experience, right? To push ourselves. Guys, listen, that's why many of you sign up for endurance sports in the first place, is to gain experience, to do something that was going to change you, not as a triathloner, but just as a human, right? As a person who does hard things. And now what we've become so obsessed with is not just finding challenges, but let me show me all the challenges you have this year, right? Now let me pick the easiest one. Let me pick the easiest one that's going to give me the best result. That's going to almost guarantee me the best result with the downriver swim, the tailwind bike, and the downhill run. I want a challenge, right? But I don't want to be challenged too much. I just want enough of a challenge to make myself feel like I'm gaining progress, I'm doing something hard, but I don't want it to be too hard. What happened to just signing up for shit because you knew it was going to be hard? Finding the hilly course that you know you're not going to PR on, but you know it's going to be hard and you want it. Like, I've had athletes in the past be like, hey, coach, I know that I don't think I'm very good at hills, but I want to do Lake Placid, or I want to do Coeur d'Alene. I want to do something that's going to challenge me. You and I used to love signing up and going to and participating in Ironman Louisville back when it was in August. because neither one of us expected to PR, but we knew going in, it was going to be hot. It's August. It is hot there. So you and honestly, I think that removes some of the pressure, right? In training, is you're no longer looking at tri-calc, how fast I can go. You think about how well can I do against the conditions? How am I going to do today, challenging myself in a new way? And so I think, especially, listen, this time of year when people are struggling to find races or motivation, pick something that's out of your norm. Pick something that's going to challenge you in a way. Go hike a trail that you've never been on that's really hard. Find a trail race, do a gravel ride, hop in an Xterra, do a hard swim. Like, find something that takes you totally out of the realm of expectation and how it relates to your fitness level and how much pressure you put on yourself, and just find something that's not in your wheelhouse and go experience something new. Because like, I can't encourage that enough with athletes, that every once in a while you need to remove yourself from the pressure of time, place, and PRs and move yourself into life is short, baby. Give me experiences.
Yeah. Pay for experiences, not things. This might sound stupid, but ever since that, I only did Louisville once when it was hot. I watched it several times when it was hot, but that ate me up that day. And that's still in my head. That's the biggest bummer when they moved it, because I wanted another shot at it. And this year, chat the last few years has been super hot. And when I kept, when you predicted accurately, like, you always do, the lower than average temps and the perfect day for Chattanooga, I was a little bummed because I was kind of hoping it would be there. I thought I watched this race several times when it was hot. And I saw the people suffering, and I was like, that's what I need. First of all, Ironman is never easy. So if you're going to go in there and say, it's a flat course and this is going to be, whatever, it's a pain. It's hard, man. Like, even the chat course here, the bike ride, everybody thinks it's kind of a fast, friendly bike ride. It's a little challenging ride, and of course the run course here is too, but when I thought back to Louisville, that flat, it was pancake flat to run, and that's always been my hardest run for some reason. It's just a grinder over and over and over. Mm-hmm. And I think about this year, chat swim, wetsuit, downstream, nice current. It was not hard. I wouldn't call it like super easy. All I kept saying is like, man, where is that buoy change? Because it felt like forever still, even though, it was my fastest swim or whatever, but when I used to get out of Wisconsin swims back in the day when they had those rough water, I put in at least twice the effort on that swim. And then you go out and ride those Wisconsin bike hills. That course is very difficult. It's bumpy. It's rough. It eats you up. Tough bike. But I raced that course faster than I did this year at Chattanooga. I mean, granted, I'm older. It's been a different whatever. But still, I think there's something to be said for having to really dig deep on race day in different ways. And sometimes, like that's, I mean, I can't even describe the difference in that swim at Wisconsin my last time and this one. I got out of the water just like completely, like somebody was just punching me all day. And it didn't matter, because I think maybe in somewhere in my brain, I was kind of like, all right, this is going to be a lot easier today. And it just, I don't know, you get in a mindset where you're ready to cruise through something, and there's nothing about cruising Ironman, I don't care how flat the bike course is. I mean, even that is riding and not having any kind of coasting breaks or downhills that you can kind of
recover.
No
such thing.
It's like riding a trainer for 6-7 hours.
It is an absolutely long day.
Worse.
I think
like mixing up the muscle groups.
Seriously, give me a change, right? And I think, and a lot of times you have a wind to take into account in races like that. There is no such thing, right? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. One of the very first coach I ever had, like 12 years ago, I was like, "What's the hardest Ironman you've ever done?" He said, "The one I'm training for right now," because not only are the races all hard and bring a totally different, kind of experience to it and challenge to it, but he said the training for it is always different because life is always different. You could sign up for a really, really, really hard, quote unquote hard Ironman, like a labeled as hard, like a Coeur d'Alene or a Wisconsin or a Lake Placid or one of these hilly Ironman Canada, the old school Ironman, like one of these really challenging St. George. But it could fall within a period of your life where everything is smooth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Life is cool. The kids are sleeping through the night, or you don't have kids. Job is 9 to 5. Stress is low. Not getting sick. Everything is smooth.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a great day probably. Or a year or two later, you could sign up for what you quote unquote, think is this is a PR course. Like I'm going to shatter it. Say sign up for an Arizona or a Florida or a California. And but life. Job is different. No longer 9 to 5. It's a 50, 60-hour work week. You got 4 kids instead of 1. 2 of them aren't sleeping through the night. Life stress is high. You had to move that year. Training isn't great. You got injured a few times. You're like, wait a minute. So which one's harder, right? Because it's always about what life throws at you. And I think that's where, like, going back to chasing experiences and things and how we are rewarded in life and the things that we remember. And that's like I touched on this a little bit in in the Triathlete magazine article I helped do a few weeks ago, was that like when you hear people talk about things they overcome in life or like the days that really made them who they are, no one really refers to like the easiest day ever. Like, yeah, that was like 3 years ago. There's this Saturday where like college football was on and like it was 60 degrees outside. I didn't have any yard work to do. Kids were out of town. I just kind of slept all day and had some snacks and like day changed me forever. No one ever says that. It's always the days that are like insanely hard or the time periods in your life that challenge you, right? And we've talked about this a lot of times. You and I both have had our experiences that have been really, really challenging. You had a super challenging year before last, with a move, loss of your dad, the isolation, and I've had my share of challenging experiences in life that you've been along for the ride for. And I think both of us would admit, like, we probably wouldn't be here without those, right? Like, we wouldn't be doing a lot of what we're doing now having not had those. And like, when I look back and I like list the things that I'm thankful for in my life, outside of the obvious stuff, like I'm gonna name some pretty hard shit that I've had to go through, which might not make sense to people unless you're one of those people, which a lot of you are, who's like, I know what you're talking about, man. Like, it's the hard times that make you into who you are, as a person, as a professional, and as an athlete. It's the hard stuff, right? And so the more oftentimes we look for the easy way out, or we look for the perfect days or the perfect scenario, the perfect environment, not only are you just choosing not to get experience and challenging yourself and overcoming things and proving that you're capable of, is that time runs out, right? You skip out on opportunities to improve, to figure out things about yourself, because that's what people still talk about this day. 2013, I think it was the Ironman, Lake Tahoe. People still talk about how insane that day was. People still talk about the 1 year they did Ironman New York, where they take like a taxi cab to the start line with their bike. They talk about the crazy days. No one talks about the easiest day back in 2015 at Ironman Florida when the temp was 60 and there was no wind. No one cares, right? It's about the hard stuff, but still, our first thought when we think about, all right, what's next year? Let me find the easiest thing to give me the least path. Now, listen, that could be a good thing in your life, because you could think, all right, listen, I just need a break, right? I need a break from the challenging things in life. But if that's where you are, then don't choose something normal, right? Choose, because let's say I'm burnt out with having these expectations. I'm burnt out with having the pressure on myself. So I'm burnt out of going after PRs. I'm like, so I think I'm going to take a step back and maybe not train as much. Like, you can still train and get fit. It's what you're picking that's the problem, right? And it's your mindset about how you're choosing to attack that, versus choose something that's totally out of your norm and check it off the list, right? Because that's what's going to keep you engaged. That's what's going to keep, quenching your thirst, or, satiating your appetite for just continuing to press on. It might be going from, an Ironman to then or it might be going from a marathon, then to an Ironman, then to a 50-mile ultra. Like it could be, it's like, I've got a lady I work with who I've been working with for like 6 years, and that's what she does. She finds something that she thought she would never be able to do. And that was a marathon first, checked off. She's like, now I think I'm going to do an Ironman, or 70.3, checked off the list. And I think I'm going to do an Ironman. checked off list. She was like, now I think I really want to do an ultra, and just keeps checking things off the list that keep her engaged. And by not doing the same thing over and over again, is what it also does. It removes the opportunity for comparison, right? And expectation, because it's something that's new. And I think that's something that people need to recognize about themselves. If you're that person who continuously puts pressure on yourself to beat a previous time or to beat so-and-so or to place here, that if you continue to do that and drive yourself into the ground, it's never going to be a win-win situation. You're going to take your losses, and you might not be in a place where losses are something that you can handle with life. So pick something that's an experience that might change you in a way that's positive while still being able to maintain or even increase fitness, but just in a way that comes with like no pressure, which I think is something that everyone needs periodically through their life cycle as an athlete.
Yeah. Well, you said it, man. The whole thing about chasing the time, I think that's the trap that I have fallen into personally. And yeah, last year was definitely tough for everybody. And I think you know, with losing my dad and everything, it was sort of easy to kind of play the, oh, woe is me card a lot. And everyone, you know, with the pandemic and stay in the house, don't do all that stuff. And I was getting so frustrated about, I don't know exactly what, but it was just bumming me out, because I do believe we have to push ourselves. And it was just an excuse. The whole year felt like this big excuse to kind of like lay back and, like you're saying, watch football. And, you know, you got plenty of time to do everything and screw around online, whatever. And nothing really good came out of it for a lot of people. I think a lot of us regressed. And because, you know, that's the battle we always fight, is that, yeah, I could go out there and do something hard, but, you know, I don't have to. So, you know, it's like, how do you, like I was talking about last time about, where I'm interested in hacks is how hacks can get you kind of over that threshold to go out the door and put your run clothes on or whatever, put the shoes on. To me, that's like the key to everything. We talk about transition in life and triathlon. You got to be able to kind of get your mind out of one place, off the swim, and get on the bike. And it's like, if you had to do that every day, it's not easy, but you're fired up on the race, obviously. And so the toughness, I think we talk about, you know, going zone 2 runs and things like that, and not, you know what I mean, taking it easy for longevity in the sport and things like that. But there's this, that's great if you're consistent with it, I think. But if you're just kind of Monday, Thursday, Saturday going easy for 30 minutes, that's probably not going to get you where you want to go. So that's the only thing I kept thinking about, because last year, or the last few years, when I lived in Nashville, I always talk about that airport, the lab, we call it, and I used to go out and ride. Dude, I used to ride so hard out there, like ridiculously hard. I mean, just because of the nature of the place or whatever. I like the heat and the wind, and it just
begs you for it.
It begs you. You just go so hard. And I knew going into this race that I didn't train anywhere near that hard on the bike. And I think that's the one thing that it's difficult to. I always tell people, it's like, if you want to get faster on the bike, you got to work hard on that bike, and that's where you can push yourself more than you can in running. Because of the injuries and things like that a lot of times. But if you want to be a faster runner, you ride that bike harder and work that cadence, and really kind of like use that as your experimental ground for running too. Because I think, you know, I talk about all the time, but when I used to mountain bike and I had to, you know, really get good at fast gearing and climbing and things like that, and explosiveness and things like that, that was when I was my fastest runner as well. So I just... Man, this doing hard things really resonates with me, because I feel like the whole last year just kind of lulled so many people to sleep. Lazy. And it's like getting lazy. And it's, I don't even want to blame it. It's not even their fault. It's just that I think we're always fighting that battle as humans. There, it's like, man, well, you know, it's one of those things. My dad went through it. Like, you know, like at the end, I was trying to get him up to walk, you know, just kind of step around and walk. And he goes, oh, I don't have the energy. And I was like, yeah, that's the catch-22, right? Because you need to walk around and do things to have more energy. Yeah. But so many people don't have energy and they don't do anything. And I feel like that's what last year was. And I was just like, it was just, you know, because it got to me. And I think, and obviously it got to a lot of people, you know, and that's just it's a vicious cycle, dude.
Yeah. You said two things there that I loved. And going back to what you're saying about your dad, in how last year was, is that, and I had this conversation with a good friend of mine last week. I said, I think a lot of us got used to just sitting our ass in the corner and being on the defensive for the last year. What's life going to throw at me now? Because, what's the point in getting out and getting, because, life's going to, or the race is going to get canceled, or it's going to get deferred, or something else is going to happen, or school's going to close again, or we're going to have to isolate again. And what's the point? I think a lot of people got used to just sitting on our ass, waiting for the next thing to happen, and be going on and just taking a defensive stance, right? Not being proactive and not being on the offensive. It's time to get off your ass and be proactive. Get out and figure it out and find something to do and stop making excuses. Like, a lot of athletes do that. You get one little niggle and it becomes your excuse to do nothing, right? You can't run. Oh, I guess I can't ride and swim because I can't be a triathloner anymore. I can't be a triathlete. No, go bike and swim, right? Stop looking for an excuse to do nothing and find a reason to do something. And so many people this whole last year got so caught up in finding reasons to do nothing because, frankly, it was smiled upon, right? To do nothing, right? To just sit around and do nothing. Like, I remember getting, in the very, very early days of the pandemic, I remember getting like frowned upon I ran every day almost, because for me, it was an outlet and also helped me deal with any kind of anxiety. It's like, I remember people looked at me like, you're going outside to run? You selfish prick. It's like listen, yeah. But seriously, people would like you, and so I think people battled that, like, seriously have battled that type of mentality. And that's the thing, is like, then life's back to normal, but guess what? You're still holding on, right, to that, because you spent that period being a certain way. So now it's become part of who you are to be on the defensive and to do nothing, and to feel like that's acceptable, but it's not. It's not acceptable for you. It's not acceptable for how you want to project what you do as a parent, as a spouse. Like, get off your ass and do something. Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing with our life, not sitting around waiting for the next bad thing to happen. We're supposed to be proactive, because the more, like you said about your dad, it's like the chicken, chicken for the egg, which one? It's like, I don't have energy. You're like, well, it's because you're not getting out and like being like moving, right? Movement is medicine, right? Anyone will tell you that movement is medicine. Movement will help you in so many different ways. But now it's become, let me look for ways to just do nothing, right? I can literally do nothing. And going back to what you said about hacks, when I hear you say the word hack, I don't hear you say, which most people hear you say or would read a hack as like, all right, what's the shortcut way to achieving my goal? When I hear you say hack, I hear you say, Robbie, your hack was trail running, right? Because it was either, I don't have time, I'm either not making time, I don't feel like I have enough time to ride my bike for the amount of time I need to, or to swim for when I do, but I know I can run, so I'm going to keep running. That way, when I got back to being able to kind of fit triathlon in my life, I still had some fitness. I still felt pretty good. Like, it didn't take me near as long to get back into, triathlon shape and race shape, to add in cycling and run, because you know what? I've been still running 6-7 days a week, putting in 35, 40 miles a week. I was still fit. I wasn't still engaged. I still had, momentum and motivation. I knew what it felt like to be in a routine. That was my hack, right? It was to keep me there, to get me, to at least kind of keep me in the ballpark, in the ball game of like, when time allows and when I'm ready for time to go out and make the time, I'll be ready. And I was a whole lot more ready than I had been if I'd have said, you know what? I'm just not going to do anything. Because if I can't do all three, I might as well not do any of it, right? Because it doesn't matter. So my hack has always been, at certain times of the year, I just fall back to running. It's the easiest thing for me to do. You can leave the door and do it. I love being on the trails this time of year because I feel like it's just good for my soul and my body and my mind. It does things for me that need to be done, right? And a lot of days, even if like, well, what's going to help me next year if I choose to race? Is it that 2 hours on the trainer? Probably. But what's going to help me today? The 45, 50-minute run with no headphones, no digital devices, running in the fall trees. And yes, that's going to help me today be a better person. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not. Like, people, if you've been there, you understand that as like an athlete. Like, I need medicine right now. I'm not necessarily concerned about what medicine might do me good in 9 months. I need the medicine that's for me right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't need anybody to give you permission to do that.
No,
that's the other thing I feel like last year became, is sort of like, well, we'll tell you when it's okay to go run. Mm-hmm. Robbie, you can't be going out there right now and doing that, because it's like, what? And then, but any little doubt like that, or any kind of like excuse or authority, sort of like whatever, I'm not going to say the word, but like you don't, I mean, that makes it harder. We're always struggling. You trained me for my first Ironman, and that was like a completely new world for me. But I remember how hard that was. And it was like, it was like so alive though. I was always kind of, just getting into this late in my life, and doing these every day was kind of this new PR. And it was like, I can't believe I just did that, And then all of a sudden it sort of became normalized. And over time, now it's sort of like, it becomes like, how do you turn it from, I've already done this a million times, I don't need to do that again, into the drudgery. So it's funny. Yesterday I ran the trails over there by your house. And
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Beautiful over there right now.
Oh my God. It was so amazing. And then I run that one loop and I said, yeah, this is 3 miles. I think I'm going to just go do it.
Gnarly 3 miles,
yeah.
if you will.
But I wore my watch, and which I wish I hadn't actually. It's because it's like, who cares? I mean, like on a trail like that, why do you even?
It's experience.
It's totally experience. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go just do and I'm going to walk like some steep hills. I'm not going to push myself too hard. And I got a 3 mile notice, and I'm like, man, I know I got a long way to go. It was like a 4 miles, right? Mm-hmm. But it was a little tougher at the end. But the point was, I just love the feeling of getting out there, and I don't know, it had nothing to do with my watch and everything like that. But like, I love. That's kind of what it is now, right? And I went over there with this idea, but then the whole pace and everything started creeping in my head, and I was like, what am I doing, man? Who cares?
That's why I love it, because it's the reverse of what most people see and feel. Like when I head out, especially specifically on those trails behind my house, the time flies, but the distance creeps because it's so much slower, which is the opposite of what we usually do as athletes. You want the time to go, we want the distance to go by fast, right? So we can be done with it. When out there, it's just like, yes, it's going to be slower no matter what, because of the nature of the terrain. But it's about the experience that you get from it. And like, what's the net positive? Is it like, and I always wear my watch because I like to see when I'm done. Yeah. But I never look at the pace when I'm running. I literally never look at when I'm running, because it doesn't matter. Like it's for me, it's about the time that I was out there. If I was out there for time for like, what am I going to get more of? 50 minutes out there, grinding away on the trails, hills, going back and forth, having way more fun running, covering less mileage, but the same amount of time, and having a ton of fun, getting some like rejuvenation back in my mind and soul, because it's so beautiful out there and kind of keeps your mind engaged, versus doing 15 minutes on the Greenway with the faster, more miles probably at a faster pace, same amount of time, but not mind numbing, but just not as rejuvenating. And I need stuff right now that's rejuvenating.
Yeah. It's almost like it takes you back to the animalistic part of ourselves.
It does.
Everyone watches animals and go, man, they run so beautifully. And yesterday there's a couple times when I would get lazy and my left foot would scrape or whatever. Yep. And then it's like, it reminds you to kind of run, like an antelope or something, something that is going to get
engaged
through terrain and pick up your feet rather than just shuffling a whole time. And it gets you, the other thing about it, I was breathing hard, and
even on the downhills.
Yeah. But it felt good. I think sometimes we forget that we need to breathe deep and get a lot of oxygen coming. That's the other thing that's a slippery slope. I think about this heart rate training sometimes is like we get so like you can't not go hard sometimes, or like you want to breathe deep and stuff. And everybody, that's why I was looking at my heart rate too, and I had to turn that off. I'm like, wait a minute, no, this doesn't feel bad. It feels good. It feels alive. It feels electric. And I wasn't, I'm not really training for anything specifically. So that was that hardness that felt good. And we have to go to that place a lot, I think, in training to get better and get stronger and things like that. And it's just kind of this like, pull the reins in all the time, pull the reins in. And I don't know, man. I like to go after it a little bit.
One day a week. Last week I've ran out there at least 2 or 3 times. And at least one day a week, I just do like
shred it.
I shred it.
Yeah.
I just go for it. I'm like, you know what? I just want to run today. I want to be free. I don't want to feel like, oh, well, maybe I'm going a little bit too high today. What's that going to do? I'm like, I just want to run, baby. I did that last Friday, but before Aaron, we had Aaron Corner came in from Wisconsin, and she sent a nice bon voyage. She was the last person to stay at our old condo, but she came in for the hub visit Friday, and I got a late start, and I went out for my run, and on the trails, you always can make the decision. You're like, all right, I could head back now, and I definitely got enough time, but I was like, I'm feeling pretty good today. Let me take this turn. And then I knew as soon as I took it, I was like, oh shit, like I'm going to be like really, really pressed for time. And I hate being late with every fiber of my being. And so I was forced to kind of like no longer look at your watch. Cause even like out there, you take one glance at your watch and you might be eating dirt. Like that's just the same amount of time you might be, cause it's like riding like a really fun mountain bike single track, which it is a mountain bike trail. And I remember thinking, you just got to run, baby. And it was the most fun I've had out there in the last 3 weeks because it wasn't a run where you got to go this pace or you got to go this effort. It was just run, right? Mm-hmm. And we get that a lot of times our athletes
Take what it gives you.
It just takes what it gives you. Or a long run of choice, hard, easy, trail, off-road. Just be free with it. Like disassociate from all the things that you try to associate with, which is time and pace and effort and zones and heart rate and data and power. And it's like we associate so many things with these digital responses that really do nothing much for us, right? Like, and I think when I got done with that race and my Garmin, I don't want to shut it off. It's like, it like bleeped up. It's like, overtraining today. I was like, go F off. Like, that was unbelievable. Like I had the most fun I've had. I felt awesome. And it was obviously faster than paid, but I just felt awesome. I felt alive. I felt strong. I think I talked about it in the podcast. Like I felt strong. Like we need those reminders, and it was just to let loose, right? To get out there and just let loose. Everything we do now, and every job, and everything you do on the way you live and what you do is all it's about creating points or gaining likes or gaining followers. It's all about metrics. Everything is about metrics and grading yourself and how is that successful and is this or is this that, and my data and my form and training peaks and I'm like, oh my God, dude. It's like back in the old days, it was just like, did you have a good day? Yep, had a good day today. But now where's the data to support your findings? Prove it, man. It's like, no, I just had a great run. Like that's all I need to know. I don't really give a shit if you liked it or not. I just know that I had a really awesome day. That's what I needed to get through the day today, because that's what's really going to get me through today, not how many times you liked my Strava post. Like that's not going to do anything for me today. It might do something for me like, on an instant like dopamine, like, oh, thank God people are liking what I did. What did for my soul was like, man, that felt awesome. You know what it wants me to do? Do it again. Like, because it was for me. And I think we lose sight of that throughout the course of training for specific types of events for years after years after years, and comparison, expectation for expectation, or qualify this and qualify that, and PRs here and PRs that. So like October through March, like find something that you've never done to where you can't have an expectation and go be uncomfortable and go do it. And I guarantee not only will you be a faster athlete when the season turns around, but you'll have so much more fun this time of year. Because that's the thing. Is like people are like, why are we training so hard right now? Race is so far away. I'm like I thought the point of training was to just consistently get better, like and get more fit and be healthier. Like you shouldn't take time off from it. Like you should lower volume and lower expectation, but like do things that are fun, right? Like and encourage yourself to be flexible. And hey, I skipped my long run today, but I went on a mountain bike ride with my kids. Quadruple thumbs up, 9 likes, 4 hearts. Like if I can give those out, like that's what this time of year is about, right? It's about staying fit, but just kind of unhinging yourself mentally and unwinding emotionally to where you can just kind of be free with it. Like, cause we triathletes especially like to live such a rigid, structured life that I think it's encouraging. It needs to be encouraged more with every athlete, whether you're self-coach or have a coach, is to own your own flexibility and to be encouraged and empowered to do that. And be like, you know what, today I just wanted to do this. Well, as long as it was like, remotely responsible and you didn't like go and hurt yourself, good. Like that's what allows you to flexibility right now, and doing these things right now is what will allow you to be sustainably rigid and structured when it matters most. Not right now, but when it matters most. Like that's when it matters in like the train. So you train, it's like you need to train. That part is when you should be rigid and structured and make sure you're trying to do things as best you can in order. But right now in like the train to train period, like be flexible, baby, and like do things that are fun and exciting. And like you said, you never need permission to do what's right for your soul, ever, under any circumstance. If you feel like a run is better for you than a ride, then do it. If you feel like going on a 2.5 hour, 3 hour ride on a Saturday when you have a run listed is better for your soul, you're going to go out and do it with buddies and hop on a mountain bike, 100% go do that, because the net gain is a net gain mentally, emotionally, and physically. It's not just one where you're like, you know what, God, but I've got a 45-minute run on the plan with some strides. I guess I'll do that today, but I really want to go ride with my buddies. Go ride with your buddies, right? Like, do things for your soul that are good, not just because you're obsessed and think that something is going to go awry if you do something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when you're going out, I was just thinking how, there are times, obviously, when we feel better when we go out for a run. Some days you just feel like you got it, right? And I think the tendency is to go see how fast we can run. But I would say there's been times when I felt really good. In Nashville, I used to live right off a greenway that would go for 15 miles or whatever. And in the park and all around it was trails. They were flatter, but some days I'd be out there running after like an overnight rain, and you knew it was messy and muddy in there. So you normally just stay on the blacktop or whatever. But if I felt good, what I would do is purposely just veer off into the trails, and it would just be a mud bath. Mm-hmm. And it was just this slipping around, nothing to do with time or speed. It was all about just kind of watching where you're going and just running through water and puddles and mud and everything like that. And it sort of, for me, was always this thing about, that's that feeling you got when you were a kid. You had no objectives, really. You were just kind of going out and getting into stuff. So I always suggest that, when you're out feeling good, especially this time of year, go hit a trail or go, climb some hills, or even if you can't run them, just walk up them, just get your body moving around in that east to west and flexible, instead of just, just going down the road straight ahead like we always do in triathlon, man.
Shuffle with no consequences if you take sloppy, crappy steps. Like,
take the exit, man. Go explore a little
exactly.
bit.
Almost every single run, either on Lookout or Stringers, every single run, at some point, I drift off and I nick something, and then I immediately say, "Pay attention, man! Stay focused. You can't take sloppy steps." And it's the same thing goes for riding your bike outside or choosing to hop on the mountain bike. Right now, almost every single long ride I give out, long is a relative term. Every single long ride I give out right now basically says on bike of choice. Road bike, tri bike, mountain bike, gravel bike, don't care bike, whatever it is, go bike, right? It can be on anything. Everything is encouraged. It's all going to do good things for you, right? It's just we've become so obsessed with speed and miles per hour. And, well, Coach, my gravel bike doesn't have power pedals on it.
You have not heard that.
Are you concerned? Are you concerned with? No, I don't give a shit. Go out, hop on your gravel bike, go ride for hours on end, and come back a much happier, fitter individual than hopping on, whatever virtual world you're gonna hop on for an hour. Go enjoy life. Don't be stuck in the pain cave 24/7. Go enjoy life. I don't need to know. I don't need to see the power every single ride to know that you're getting fitter, right? I need you to come back and be like, dude, got lost in the woods. I know I said I'd be back for 2 hours, but I made it 4, and I felt awesome, dude. It was so much fun. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know what your power was. I don't need to know that your heart rate strap wasn't working. It's the simplest things in life and the verbal cues that athletes give. That's how you know things are working. And oftentimes, honestly, it's when athletes become too rigid and too obsessed with a missing metric that things are actually going wrong, because they've lost perspective in what matters most. It's become, I did my workout today. It's not open, but here's a screenshot. Hello, this isn't socialist. I'm not a dictator. I believe you.
Yeah,
I totally believe you. Plus, even if you skipped it, who cares, right? If you skip 3 days, if they skip 3 days in a row and you don't normally do that, then I'll probably check in on you, do a little well check. How's it going? If you miss one, I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, the fitness is decreasing. We must, upload, Terminator Training Peaks package to make sure we're getting. Oh my God, lighten up, lighten up, relax, enjoy. This is supposed to be fun. So if you're not having fun, check yourself. before you wreck yourself.
Mm.
That's it. Wrap it up.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Unless you got another,
No, I don't think so, man.
No, you
I
don't
think
think so?
I think that really.
Speaking of having fun, come see us. Email c26operations@gmail.com and come check out the new 4-story, 4-bed, 3-bath. Got a garage. Pets welcome. Beautiful view of Lookout Mountain and Mike's own special sculpture field. Unobstructed views. Even if it's not to come visit for a hub visit or some analysis, just come take in Chattanooga. Run some trails. We can tell you where to go. Have some, go have some beers or brews or whatever you people drink now, micro brews, and just go have some fun.
Hang, man.
Just hang.
Yeah.
Go enjoy yourself. It's beautiful. You can email and get more info on that at c26operations@gmail.com. You can see more pics of that on Instagram, C26 Triathlon. And as always, go to our website. It is c26triathlon.com, and as always, our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. You can also click on our coaching tab for info on the coaches that we have if you're looking for coaching this next year, and also our club package. You can email Mike specifically if you have any questions about that. He is at crushingiron@gmail.com. And if you need anything from me, you can always get a hold of me at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, man. I will talk to you in about 2 seconds.
All right, man.
See ya.